access to Love and Mercy and show it
Oh, the
sometime.
movie?
What?
The Beach Boys movie?
Yes.
That's what I was thinking of, Travis.
That is one of my
Buy
favorite
that.
movies.
3
That is
minutes.
Yeah.
All right, Travis,
That's
cut
3
out,
minutes.
cut your video. And can you spotlight both of us?
Oh shit, my video's on?
Yeah,
What the
wait a
fuck?
second. It's not fully on.
Is everybody going to a demonstration tomorrow near them?
Yes.
We're now
Yes.
live.
Yes.
Yes.
Now live.
We're now live.
Somebody want
Live,
to do the live?
We're live.
Nice.
Oh man.
I
like
like
it.
it.
I like that.
What happened there?
That was nice.
Yeah.
That didn't sound so good.
I seem to have lost the spotlight controls. Oh, here we go. Damn it.
Um,
You said we're live. Hey, caramba. Bienvenidos. Buenas noches desde el corazón de España. Me llamo Joespaña. I'll be your cook this evening. Welcome. Good evening. From the heart of Spain. My name is Joespaña, and I'll be your cook this evening. I'm joined by Ann Lee, a retired college professor and community member at the Daily Coast, a member of the National Council of Independent Scholars, and is a contributor to the book, The Political Economy of Art, Making the Nation of Culture. Evening, Ann.
Hey there. C.
My bad.
Bill Dana. It's a Bill Dana routine.
Oh boy. What a week.
Well, it's been a busy week. Weird crap all over.
Yes. It seems that the Israelis are in the process of decapitating the Iranian leadership at the moment.
Well, they did a pretty good job of it. I
Not
mean,
sure.
it only took them 8 months to prepare. So,
Not looking good.
no, we haven't seen the retaliation yet.
Yes. There are ballistic missiles that have been launched towards Jerusalem, or landed in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. But yeah, the devastation, I mean, just bombing the nuclear sites, if they're able to get down that deep, the potential for a dirty bomb situation is quite high.
Yep.
You'd imagine we have rules and regulations and laws against things like this?
Well, against nuclear stuff or against bunker
Against
buster bombs?
against the waging wars of aggression.
Well, it's clearly a violation of sovereignty if
Mhm.
you drop bombs on your neighbor.
President Trump has urged Iran to make a deal on its nuclear program, warning that even more brutal Israeli attacks will basically come.
Well, and the usual disinformation occurred. You know, Trump said they had nothing to do with it when in fact they did. They were informed ahead of time.
It's ridiculous. Well, we're having a big party, not for all of that shit going on, but we have guests coming for the
Cool.
weekend.
Cool.
And John, you know what that means. I've got to share my cake. Oh, I've got to double up the recipe. I don't know what to do. We got lots of food to make. I'll be doing a lot of prep tonight, but fortunately, there's a theme at the grocery store. Shit is so expensive these days. But I got some platanos for €1. So I got some old. I'll make some banana bread. We have butternut squash. I'm gonna do that. What is it called? The candied squash I made in Turkey, which is also famous in Mexico. So we'll slice this baby up and give it a bath, cook it in a bath of sugar syrup with cinnamon, lemon rind. Don't have any clove. And that's about it. We've got quinoa.
Nice.
I'm going to make a quinoa salad with crunchy vegetables like cucumber, carrot, onion, green pepper, or discount peppers. Probably not mix that today because it'll get all mushy. I'll do that in the morning. So we'll have a what do they call it? Unreconstructed salad or separation of concerns going on. And then we've got the return that I've been saving for my friends that are coming. The Japanese mountain yam, the only yam that you can eat raw. That is a bit of a gelatinous substance when grated. We grated it and mixed it with soy sauce and put it over warm rice. And absolutely nobody liked it.
You're deviant. Absolute deviant.
So what we're going to do with this is attempt another dish that I had while we were in Japan, which was blanched yam with a light dashi dressing and katsubushi over it, shredded bonito, smoked bonito. But we're going to just be doing a vegetarian version of it. So we're gonna blanch this baby. If I get to it, I'll roast some aubergine back there. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with that. I got this. Oh, we got potatoes here. I'm supposed to make potato salad. I got a lot to get to.
Looks
So you
like
can
it.
pace yourself all you like. We got lots
Oh,
going.
well, thank you.
Mhm.
I would mention that I enjoy the European 1 as opposed to the American 7. Anyway,
Why?
well, the European 1 has an extended top there that goes
Oh.
down, and the
Mhm.
European 7 has a cross through it.
Yeah, it's an easy way to identify.
Much easier, actually. But
Mhm.
if you do that in the US, people go crazy. So
I think you're writing at 7 or something.
that's right.
Sloppy 7s.
All right. So, yes.
Before you get going, so quinoa, it's one measure of quinoa to 1.5 water, pinch of salt, little oil, 15 minutes, 12 minutes, 15. Depends on the temperature on your stove, but roughly that.
Excellent. Excellent.
I'm gonna, after it cooks, I'm gonna dump it out onto a tray so that it cools really quick. So we're gonna use it for salad. That way it doesn't get mushy.
Yes, yes, probably a good idea. Well, busy week this.
That's all very well and good, Joe. But will you
Yeah.
condemn Hamas?
Yeah. Lane.
Sorry.
All right. Well, I think we began the weekly review or the weekend review. All kinds of the silliness. The economy is sort of weird. It's moving towards stagflation. As Susanna shared with us about the bond auction, a day and a half ago, that we're moving towards stagflation. Money will probably have to be printed soon, and so trouble is occurring, and it's unfortunate no one's paying attention to it. The Japanese did pay attention to it because they did their own auction last week. Other than those economic matters, the Russians have declared that they intend, or at least the Ukrainian intelligence says that the Russian military intends to seize half of Ukraine by the end of 2026. That means everything up to the Dnieper is what they want. Now, whether they get it or not is a whole nother question, and they've had a little trouble doing that considering the surprise attack that they provided. I haven't yet, and I probably will in a second, talk about the attack by Israel last night on Iran. We'll talk about that in a moment. Needless to say, we sort of ended or distracted ourselves from celebrity deathmatch with Elon and Krasnov, alias Trump. Apparently, Trump has not forgiven Elon. Elon says he regrets, and that's pretty much where it is right now. We know a little bit more about the tussle that Musk had with Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, and I think that explains the black eye. So anyway, there's that. Other things. In Ukraine, going slightly back to Ukraine, the Swedish AWACS that were transferred, one of them was transferred to, these are advanced warning and electronic ISR planes. It's built on a Saab 340 commercial airliner with a small 2-engine turboprop. They apparently got it up in the air, and then because it controls or has a range of 400 or plus kilometers, it was able to guide the missile launched, an air-to-air missile launched from a Ukrainian F-16 and knock down the sort of top-of-the-line Su-35 jet, which technically has a much better air-to-air missile range, but they couldn't see the F-16, and because the weapon that they fired, it's an AIM-120, is a fire-and-forget weapon. It's just, you fire it, it goes over the horizon, nobody sees you. And so the AWACS plane guided the missile to its target, or at least that's the sort of lay interpretation of it. And so that's a warning. And of course, the Russians are still moving their heavy bombers way the heck out. So about halfway to Siberia is sort of the range that they're running from in order to launch cruise missiles at Kyiv. And Kyiv is getting bombed a lot. So, but we're not noticing that, even though the milestone of 1 million casualties has been reached. The Russians have lost 1 million troops. Now, the death toll is not that as high, but clearly stuff's happening, and that's a milestone. It's acknowledged not simply by Kyiv, but also by the EU. The UK has identified that million casualty mark, so that's happened. And otherwise, it's been missile and drone strikes, all of the usual matters. New technology. The Norwegians are promising another trench, probably another 20 F-16s to be transferred to the Ukrainians. So that's interesting, among many other things. And so that's the way it is in that particular context. Now, the more recent events are the distraction, as it were, from the big, beautiful or big bastardly bill that is not yet passed. It's a budget bill that has all kinds of terrible things in it. It's going to kick everyone on Obamacare and the ACA off the rolls. And a whole bunch of other terrible things that will essentially be paying for the high income people getting a tax break. Essentially, that's the plan for this bill. And I think that the Senate is going to resist that. And the Republicans didn't do themselves any favors by having the security folks tackle and throw to the ground the senator from California, Alex Padilla, when he decided that he was in the same building. He was having a briefing of some kind. He decided he wanted to attend Kristi Noem's Department of Homeland Security press conference. And so he in fact, I think he was led down there by an FBI person and a Secret Service person. So So he shows up in the meeting and wants to ask a question. And Noam gets pissed off, and somebody decides, I think it's Corey Lewandowski, perhaps her Noam's boyfriend, who is also the de facto chief of staff for her. And they've been on and off a thing for actually several years, needless to say. Anyway, aside from that, Alex Padilla tries to ask a question, and they determine that he's out of turn. And the security folks, three of them, push him out of the room and bring him to the ground and then cuff him. It's just interesting. And needless to say, the Democrats, particularly in the Senate, are annoyed that this has happened. There are calls for Kristi Noem's firing and a bunch of other matters. Those are all happening at the same time. So it's been pretty busy for the last day or two. Now, what was Alex Padilla talking about or worried about? It was the presence of ICE in Los Angeles, and the fact that Trump decided that he would order out, without notifying or getting the approval of the California governor, Gavin Newsom, to call out the National Guard, the California National Guard. And so that is that the order went through to federalize the California National Guard, who now have 4,000 troops ostensibly guarding the federal building in Los Angeles, but they're not really doing that. They're doing other things. They're supposed to be helping ICE track down undocumented migrants, of which there are some 300,000 plus in Los Angeles. But the reality, of course, is that because they're trying to meet quotas, Stephen Miller's quota is 3,000 migrants a day. And to keep those arrests up, and yes, there is embarrassment going all over the place. In Omaha, a meat packer tried to comply with these employment issues relative to undocumented workers. And, you know, he had 70 people on his work staff who had E-Verify approvals. E-Verify is the national thing which allows you to verify your identity, etc. which is required for some, or some employers require it. Anyway, that didn't stop ICE from coming in and arresting 70 of them. So I assume they're meeting their quota somehow, even though they're probably going to have to release all 70 of those folks in Omaha. Needless to say, this is from the essentially the playbook from 2020, where Trump sent federal enforcement agents of one kind or another, cobbled from a variety of agencies. It's not really a very uniform force. They're just taking enforcement guys from a whole bunch of different entities, and that's what they did in Portland. And while they were in Portland, they had they assembled a death squad and killed one person. They grabbed a couple of people to get them out of the conflict zone, but it was essentially kidnapping people. And so they did a couple of that. That seemed to work for some people, and henceforth, it's begun to be used as a tactic. And we've known for the last month or two that ICE agents have been snatching people off the street and inevitably snatching the wrong people off the street. And then again, we don't know what counts as a wrong person. So that's an interesting issue. So there have been demonstrations against raids. And so to get back to LA, there have been raids in the fashion district in terms of subcontracted textiles firms, clothing firms that, assemble shirts and pants and whatever clothing for the United States, and are just raiding those kinds of facilities, among other kinds of facilities. And so ICE agents have been doing that, and needless to say, just scooping people up and not necessarily looking at whether they are legal or not legal, whatever that means. The LA police and the Los Angeles County sheriffs are out in force. And of course, there are the usual conflicts that occur because there are people in the crowd who just don't like the cops and who are certainly willing to provoke them, and which are a very incredibly small number. And then there's both the tactical units of the police and the county sheriffs, and who are added or backed up by the California National Guard. Now, Trump, obviously, Gavin Newsom was annoyed at the very least, and of course filed a suit to turn this around, which has just happened from a legal point of view. The notice that the order that came from the White House to federalize the National Guard, that doesn't mean that the National Guard is going away, but clearly now Governor Newsom has control of the, which he didn't have before, of the California National Guard. Now, Trump, in his usual doubling down, decided that as his little fantasy about calling out the troops. Now, this is not the first time he's done this. Recall the treatment of people in was it Jefferson Park in DC? They're trying to get the military out or National Guard to
Is that when he held up the Bible upside down?
Yes, that's the same event. That is the same event, and the clearing, of course, was done by mounted police. So it's just sort of interesting. Trump really likes that stuff. I mean, he thinks that that's part of his job, or that, or he enjoys himself when he does that. So, in that same spirit, Trump decided that he would call out a brigade of Marines stationed at 29 Palms with vehicles to do whatever that is. And there's no defined purpose for calling out combat troops, because it is a violation of posse comitatus. That is the idea that you're not supposed to use your most lethal troops against citizens. That's in the damn Constitution. But there is a little clause that needs to be tested in course, Section 10, that says, well, if an invasion is happening or a rebellion is happening, then you're justified in calling troops out, because it has been used in various extreme moments. So during the post-Rodney King riots in LA, federalized troops actually occurred. But note, of course, that was 30 years ago. So Trump was obviously relying on a pretty anachronistic precedent, but needless to say, he has a whole crowd of people who want to kind of carry through with this repression and, of course, spread it to blue, that is, democratically controlled sanctuary cities, which is the little shibboleth for all the right-wing folks, all those Heritage Foundation, Project 2025 folks, to eliminate sanctuary cities in the United States. I mean, it is a burr in their saddles that they would like to eradicate that notion that folks who are in the midst of trying to work out whether they can get or not get asylum tend to cluster in cities as opposed to rural areas. So that happened. We haven't really seen the Marines on the street, and I think I think they're waiting for the perfect photo op in order to do that. Meanwhile, in the past couple of days since this happened, what is it, on Tuesday or Monday, there have been clashes between people in the street, rubber bullets, and they're not so much a rubber bullet as they are a big rubber plug fired from about a 40 millimeter gas grenade gun. So when you get hit with it, it hurts. And you can actually kill people with those things, but they have been, let's say they've been discharging these things irresponsibly. Somebody got hit in the crotch. Another person got hit in the leg. A journalist got hit in the leg on camera, on air. It's quite fascinating. I'm sure there's going to be a complaint. That's an Australian journalist, so in some ways there's some separation there. But anyway, that's sort of interesting. And the photo ops, of course, make it look like, all of LA is being in flames or something, and that's just not the case. In fact, the sort of conflict area is about 10 blocks in downtown.
Am I to assume that the media is helping to dispel that myth?
No, they aren't. They're using close-up images because they are, of course, more dynamic on media screens. Fortunately, in the LA, from the LA point of view, the LA helicopter crowd, media helicopters have shown pullbacks where the crowds are relatively small. There have been marches, protests, rallies. All that is going on. I mean, people are angry and annoyed, but the confrontations are much more sporadic but problematic. So in San Diego and in Paramount, the ICE agents are out there trying to grab people out of restaurants, and the neighborhoods have resisted. They've gone out and said, what the hell are you doing? And so crowds of people, not horribly well organized, but they've confronted the ICE agents, who freak out a little bit. And because they're not very well trained, they start firing flashbangs at essentially, groups of kids and old people and whatever. And they tend to retreat. But more of these things are going to happen. And the issue is, of course, you're going to have probably National Guardsmen, maybe even Marines in the background, doing photo ops where some tactical unit is going to go in and try and grab a bunch of people who are undocumented, who may actually be documented. And, it's the familiar idea from Vietnam, is that, you kill them all and let God sort them out kind of theory of confrontation, which is very good if you have a military force, not so good if you have civilians and citizens, etc. So anyway, so the week began with Terry Moran, the ABC correspondent being suspended by ABC. Actually, I think they fired him, and so he's seeking other employment. I'm sure he'll be picked up by somebody, hopefully. Um, but then again, there are other examples of folks who never got a job after these kinds of things, or who sit in the margins. So the front end of this, of course, is the attempt by the Trump administration to have the LA police serve as the uh, guarantor of authority without the governor being involved or the mayor of LA being involved. So there was this whole question of trying to create a division between or try to embarrass local authorities, local politicians, and everybody else, and of course trying to make that into a photo op. And of course we've seen Gavin Newsom confront Trump pretty directly, even though they talk on the phone, and yet Trump just simply doesn't mention that he's going to call out the Marines the next day, which is sort of amusing as from a Trump point of view. And a subsequent declaration by the LA police chief that all of downtown LA was declared an unlawful assembly on one day, on Friday, I think, and on Saturday, curfew was introduced, 8 p.m. to 6 a.m., I think, or maybe 9 a.m. Curfew was introduced. So there's that, and people have been hurt and abused by mounted LAPD police mounted cops, among other things, and of course as I said, the gas grenade guns with the rubber bullets. So that has happened. There are a variety of egregious sort of events. A woman who wanted not to walk the long way around to her apartment asked if she could walk through their line. She was alone. She had no one around her. So there's a video of this. She just asked them whether she could get through so she could go home. The police decided they would shoot her with a rubber bullet at nearly point blank range. So that's just another example of the kind of stupidity of the events. Fortunately, the internet has struck back and have doxed a couple of cops who have shot people who really didn't need to be shot by rubber bullets. So that's sort of interesting. That's going on now. There is a regular crowd of folks who do kind of pester the police about keeping an eye on whatever craziness they do. So that's much more formalized, but that's sort of there. Essentially, Taco Tuesday, Trump claimed that Los Angeles would have been completely obliterated if he hadn't called out the National Guard and the Marines. Clearly, that wasn't the case. And as I said, it's a 10-block area. As the district attorney of LA said, it's 99.99 or 80, whatever, percent of Los Angeles was this sort of unlawful area. And it's not a very big deal. And it could have completely been handled by local police and sheriffs, with the usual, of course, issues, as we've seen before in such conflicts. But the Trump administration decided they'd make a big deal out of self-driving cars being set on fire, and sort of being allowed to burn to the ground rather than bringing in the fire folks, the firefighters. So it's just much stupidity has gone on since Monday and Tuesday. This does remind us, of course, of what Trump asked, as we know from official stuff from the period, that Donald Trump asked his acting Secretary of Defense in terms of the 2020 Show the Bible BLM protest across from the White House. Can't you just shoot them? Just shoot them in the legs or something. That was Trump really wants that to happen. And of course, a lot of people got hurt during that particular episode. And that's what Trump continues to want is roaming bands of right-wing folks running around causing trouble, which hasn't really happened. You haven't seen counter protesters of the type that we saw during the anti-Palestinian demonstrations. You know, there were counter protesters at UCLA that were the real people causing violence, and of course the obvious issues of that conflict. But needless to say, violence has occurred. Now, a background to all this has been war. You know, stuff's going on in other places, and yet crazy things happen in the interim. Uh, you know, the issue is, and I think that this is the problem of, you know, that has always been the problem of Trump, is that he thinks, and without hyperbole, he truly thinks, and he's been caught talking about this, that every time he goes to work, that is, goes to the Oval Office, etc., is that he's doing a television program. So essentially, he's trying to act like executive producer of this reality program, and he's trying to get with the Marines and the National Guard, and not, you know, trying to create trouble with politicians, is what some people have called the stuff hits the fan sort of moment, where, you know, everybody gets the stuff that's hidden in their basement or whatever, and, you know, it's all a big mess, and we're supposed to worry about water and whatever. It's not that. It's just not that. But that's the image that has occurred. And if you've been looking at the news, national news or international news, there's been a tendency to simply look at, you know, the a close-up shot of people getting hit with rubber bullets and tear gas and a few other things. No one has died yet, if you want to use a criterion for these matters. And other stuff is going on in the background. There's a story that done by major media, but not given a wide play, and that is that in the next couple of weeks, the 9,000 foreign nationals currently residing in the U.S. illegally will be relocated to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. That is the base at Gitmo. Now 9,000 is a fair number, although the capacity, I think, is 30,000 at Gitmo. These foreign nationals include a bunch of folks who are in the U.S. illegally from the EU, among many other places. And it includes 170 Ukrainians, I think. So it's a whole bunch of folks, not just simply Venezuela and Southern Hemisphere folks. It's French people. There are a couple people from the UK. So that's going to be an interesting story, but it is getting very little play. Only some smaller outlets are talking about that sort of thing, but it all kind of fits. I mean, one of the points of doing this, of course, is to dissuade people from visiting the United States as tourists, which is going to cost the United States tens of billions of dollars in lost tourist revenue that has already been predicted from some of the issues with Canadians, particularly, who either own property in the U.S. or like taking their vacations in the U.S. So that's an issue. But Taco, that is, Trump always chickens out, has been the whole deal this week. He claimed that on Monday that it would be migrant riots that needed to be quashed by National Guard and Marines. I mean, he has this image that it's going to be people of color rioting against the, you know, the forces of good and blah, blah, blah. And that's just not happening. But he is trying to create, as I've said, a kind of parallel universe. Now, he's walked that back. And in fact, today, he's been walking back some of the quota issues. That is, people who've been working for 20 or he commented, and this was an interaction he had with the press in the White House, that is that he was just wandering and talking about, well, you know, people have been on farms and they've been working for 20 to 25 years at whatever pay that happens to be. And, you know, you shouldn't be sending them back over the, over the border. In other words, Trump chickens out again, because in fact, that's one of the original plans of the whole idea, going back to the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025, is to even take those people who have never taken advantage or applied for asylum or citizenship or whatever, and to deal with those folks. Now, Trump was saying that because not only at his own hotels, but hotels in general. And he was sort of thinking, you know, loosely about leisure travel activity, because he's been getting a little pressure on people who are undocumented who work in the tourism industry, noting, of course, that Trump himself has what is it, J1 or whatever it is, visa status for 60 of his Mar-a-Lago employees. Now, whether he's used all 60 permits is unclear, but that's been a fact. And no one has ever, and I wish that a journalist would track that down, but it's pretty clear that people who are international of one kind or another are on the staff of Mar-a-Lago. Now, needless to say, this is the kind of conflict that Trump wants in the street, but also his followers want it in the street. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who only recently claimed that Derek Chauvin, the police officer who killed George Floyd by leaning on his neck for 8 minutes, he's been convicted for 22.5 or 20 plus years. They're kind of concurrent federal and state charges for, you know, killing George Floyd. But he's been trying to appeal this, of course, as is his right. But the reality is, of course, the disinformation is that Marjorie Taylor Greene has claimed that he's not at fault. He should be pardoned by Donald Trump, which would eliminate the federal charges, but would still, in fact, leave the same number of years on the state charges. He couldn't be pardoned except probably by the state governor. You know, that's problematic probably in its own way. But needless to say, her bit of disinformation was, of course, is the right-wing myth, disinformation or misinformation, that George Floyd died of a drug overdose, which is not true. Clearly not true. If you've watched the trial or whatever, it's just all quite interesting to see lawfare in action. So there's that. And it's of a
Well,
piece.
if you don't mind, am I interrupting?
No.
I didn't want to alarm anybody with my exact measurements baking here. I got a cup here, a teaspoon of baking soda here. I just wanted to let John know so he can relax, not worry about me. I've used one of the 2 cups with whole wheat or whole grain spelt flour. So a little bit of fiber in our banana bread. So and
I'm
I'm
breathing slightly easier.
Oh, good. I hope you're not allergic to pecans. So I don't want to give you some anaphylactic shock over the way.
There we go.
But we also got pecans and Swiss-Gate. What are Swiss-Gate? Swiss-Gate are prunes.
Sounds good.
There we go.
All right. Yummy, though.
Damn near health food.
Indeed. We're getting close to the end, and the schedule is coming up, and John was here. So, John, what's going on?
I'm not even a quarter of the way through.
Well, we can go over time. We have till 8:30 our time, Eastern time, which is about almost 45 minutes till Night Gallery. John, what's on Night Gallery tonight?
Night Gallery. Yes, we have Raymond Massey starring in an episode of
Ooh.
Night Gallery called Clean Kills and Other Trophies. Written by Rod Serling. And as I recall, I think it's pretty good.
Excellent, excellent. So that will be at 8:30, complete with slides, etc. And right after that, I don't know if Travis is willing to talk about this, but Poker Face will happen right after that, which is very new and very interesting. Weird, as they say. So let's see. Susanna is showing stuff tomorrow at 7. That is Wild Wild West, and I think the pilot episode. Susanna, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I have never presented the pilot episode, produced in early 1965, sold to CBS, and I'll be discussing the backstory about the creation of the series. It's a great episode. A number of guest stars, including beautiful Suzanne Plachette. And then I'll be showing an episode from the 1963 series, The Lieutenant, created by Gene Roddenberry, starring Gary Lockwood and with our guest star, Rip Torn. So thanks.
Excellent. That's the series that precedes the original Star Trek. And John, if you're still there, can you talk about Star Trek: The Next Generation on Sunday at 5? Suzanne will be
Yes.
showing the movies at 7. John?
Yes, it's on Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern. We will be taking a look at an episode called Unnatural Selection.
Ooh, eugenics in space.
Yes. Enhanced DNA developments trigger an epidemic of rapid aging.
There we go. Very
Yeah.
exciting. Looking forward to that. And then after that, more Beatles, right, Lane? Lane?
I mean, like, it's not important, really, but, I mean, like, if we can't hear ourselves playing, and, like, you can't hear us sort of playing, like, but it's going to be playing, it's either playing episode 6, or maybe, I don't know, episode 7. I mean, it's not really that important, really.
Oh, God. It's really been fun, though,
Peace
the
and
whole
love.
series.
Yes, very good. I was trying, and I was also nudged slightly by Bruce to do something to celebrate Mr. Sly Stone.
Excellent.
But I'm getting through the series first. Then I'll catch up with all that. Everyone who's
All right.
died this week.
Was it Sly Stone and Doris Day, or is it Sly Stone and Dinah Shore? Doris Day, wasn't it? That's the myth or the urban legend. And
Yes, and
I
of
hope
course Brian Wilson died, so we'll do Beach Boys at
yes,
some point as well, but not this week.
indeed. Yes, looking forward to that as well. Even Trump weighed in on condolences for Brian Wilson, since Trump tends to like oldies but goodies, whatever. All right, we're not so close to the end, but we can stick around and watch all this stuff being put together by Joe.
You want to make sure you leave the skin on the winter
Squash?
squash. That, otherwise, it'll fall apart. Allows it to hold its shape better.
Joe, if I might make a comment, I noticed you were peeling things.
Yes.
And I assume you're aware that most of the nutrients are in the peels of potatoes,
Sure.
carrots,
But
things.
I'm trying to go for the Michelin star rating
I got it, I
podcast,
got it.
cooking podcast. You'll have to forgive me and my I used spelt. I used some spelt.
Cultural imperialism at work here. Jesus. Looks like it's
But
going to
no.
be a while until you get this done, right, Joe?
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
you're just,
I was just joking. It's going to take me a couple hours. So.
yeah, you're peeling that yam, mountain yam.
Oh, as word of warning with the old Japanese mountain yam. Although it's the only yam you can eat raw, when you peel it, you might want to put on gloves because it will irritate your fingers. So
I
I
guess it's
didn't
similar.
last time, and I'm probably not doing it this time because we don't have any gloves. But I'll be very careful.
You could
Yeah.
use, baggies or something to
Mm.
protect yourself. Well, that is similar to issues like with taro root and those kinds of things that are problematic for folks.
Mm.
So I guess we're going to continue on with that. We're close to the time to stop.
Should I just bust out the
outro?
the music?
Yeah, I guess so. There will be a continuing of the class unity sort of a watch-in on Sunday at 2 and on Saturday at 2, more weekly marks. I haven't quite decided what to do then, but we probably will have a reading of one kind or another, whether it's me doing the reading or me doing a tape of something or something else. We'll see about that. So I think that covers the next couple of days. I think I've done everything. We're going to have Poker Face tonight. I don't know if Travis wants to talk about that, but Poker Face after Night Gallery, which is at the bottom of the hour at 8:30. And as I said, films at 7 on Saturday, and Star Trek at 5 or 4 on Sunday. Yes, check that, 4 o'clock, Sunday afternoon, Star Trek. And then after that, Beatles. So that's kind of everything that we're doing here. Joe, if you're ready to play us out, bye. We'll try and do better
Take care,
next week.
all.
Wow.